All right, well, we're just past the halfway point and the trade deadline of the NFL. There's been plenty of ups and downs and many storylines that headline the start of the season have taken dramatic turns. So since we're halfway through, why not go back and review the first half of the season with a look at the biggest surprises and disappointments in the NFL so far? And we'll start with you, Drink. What do you got?
Well, for my surprising team, I'm gonna go with the Arizona Cardinals. Better known as "We'll rob you in broad daylight." We seen what they did with DeAndre Hopkins. But here's the deal. Um, so last year, this team won 5 games total. They went 5-10-1. That was their 16-game slate. This year, they're already 5-2. So even if they lose the rest of their games, they're already projected to do more than they was doing last year. We had to understand this. They had a first-year quarterback with a first-year head coach. So we knew it wasn't going to be that pretty from the start. But what we wanted to see was, can they build off what they're doing? And it seems like between them robbing people in broad daylight and what they actually got on the field, listen, it's been pretty good. We also, if you want to add in what they did in the draft, we thought it was a big win that they got Isaiah Simmons, that he slid all the way down to him, and they took him. The guy was pretty much named, like the best all-around player in the whole draft. They ended up with him in the draft. So I think because of how COVID stopped teams from being able to work out like they wanted to, it stopped players and coaches from being able to meet as much as they wanted to. And when they did meet, they only met over over a computer screen like we're doing right now. So how much did they really get out of it? But once the season started, evidently, Cliff Kingsbury, Murray, they had a plan together, and it seems to be working. That defense seemed to be working better than we thought. I love the pickup of Dre Kirkpatrick to give Patrick Peterson another guy on the other side so he don't have to worry about being the only lockdown corner. Budda Baker, what can we say about Budda Baker other than the fact that he got ran down by DJ Metcalf? Either way, that happens. But that guy, when he got his big payday this season, we was like, who? Like, highest paid safety? Who is this guy? We starting to see why he got paid what he got paid, and the list goes on and on. So for my biggest surprise is the Arizona Cardinals. Disappointment. Listen, and I know people are going to say, yo, why are you disappointed? You should have known how this was going to go down before it started. But here's the deal. I thought the Cleveland Browns was on the track to success, which they are playing better. If you look at their record, they're 5-3. So it's not like they're in the bottom. But when you look at who the 5 wins are against and who the 3 losses are against, you kind of get where I'm coming from here. You can see what your boy talking about here without the brown paper bag over my head. Listen, the Browns, I really thought this was the year they was going to take a step forward and show that they knew how to use the talent that was on that team. But I'm sorry. Baker Mayfield, he just ain't been it. I'm sorry. He's beating up on his lackluster JUCO talent, but then when this Division I, highly paid talent come through, he freezes up and he gets benched. And I forgot who the backup. Case Keenum gets to come in and clean up for him. Wow, and that was his comparable when he came out of the draft too, by the way. Anyway, Cleveland, I just expected more, man. I thought Kevin Stefanski was going to come in there and be the grown-up, which I think he has done a better job with Baker Mayfield. I'm not saying he hasn't done his job, but something is missing here. Odell Beckham, now he's hurt. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. I thought, me personally, I was one of the people that thought that was a positive, not a negative, because I thought that was going to allow Baker Mayfield to think a little more now, give him a chance to spread the ball out without having a wide receiver barking in his face, after every play. But I don't know. I'm disappointed with the Browns. I know it sounds crazy to be disappointed with the Browns, but I'm disappointed with the Browns. I expected them to be better. I expect them to be more competitive in their division. I picked the Cleveland Browns to be the second most competitive team in their division. They're the third most competitive. And on any given Sunday, Cincinnati might be better than them. Who the hell knows? So with that said, the Browns are not living up to the snuff I said preseason. So that's my disappointing team.
Yeah, I just want to start with I think I agree with all your picks. I think Arizona, I think we all agreed Arizona could be a team that could be interesting and make some improvements. I think they were probably a little bit ahead of schedule. And then Cleveland, I think you're absolutely right about Cleveland. When you just look up and down their schedule, you look at the wins, you look at the losses, it just doesn't appear that they're ready. I got questions. The questions remain about Baker Mayfield, how far he can take you. And then a 5-3 team with a minus 31 point differential, that is not a good indicator for them moving forward. Still could have a chance to make the playoffs, with just the state, perhaps the schedule. I don't think their schedule is all that daunting. But not it doesn't look great for Baker Mayfield considering all the talent he has around him. But to some of my surprises, and I have a few, I think staying in the AFC North, if you'd have took a bet on who would be the last remaining undefeated team, you probably wouldn't have had many votes for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's 7-0. They're rocking and rolling. The big question mark for them was how Big Ben would play. Big Ben's been fine. He's been able to stay healthy. He's been able to stay upright. The arm, I think the arm strength looks good. And the weapons that he has, James Conner, he's doing a fine job in the backfield. That group of wide receivers with Juju Smith-Schuster, with Deontay Johnson. This kid Chase Claypool can play, the second rounder out of Notre Dame. He's been he appears to be an up and coming star for that team. And then you go over to the defensive side. I think they're the best defensive team in football. I think Drink's also taking that position. They appear to be the most complete team right now, and I think that is somewhat surprising. But absolutely, a lot of credit should go to them. I got a couple other I just want to mention, and you go back to the NFC. You got 2 5-3 teams that I think they're a bit of a mirage. Talking about Chicago is one of them. Chicago, interesting case. You start 3-0 with Mitchell Trubisky, and then you make a change to Nick Foles. They're 5-3, but if you'd have told me to start the season if Chicago was going to be at this point with the quarterback, turnover, now you have questions. Do you go back to Trubisky? Nick Foles is not like he's been terrible, but I think there's some questions to where they go from here. And as you well know, when you have this type of quarterback situation, when you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. So I think it's a tough situation there. I think Matt Nagy, I don't think you could ask him to do a much better job. He's managing the best he can. There's just not a whole lot there. But I think as we move along, I think that 5-3 start. Remember, they were 5-1. They've lost a couple in a row. I think they're going to slide on back, and I have questions. I don't know if they're a 500 team when it's all said and done. The other surprise that I think will fall back to the pack, I think we discussed them a little bit ago, it is the Los Angeles Rams. And I'll tell you why. You pull up the schedule, and you pull up who they've beaten, and it is not impressive at all. Look at this. This team starts 4-1. Let's look at the wins. You talk about Dallas, Philly, the Giants, and the old football team in the nation's capital. If that ain't the worst grouping of wins I've ever seen, because we know how terrible and embarrassing that division is.
What do they have in common?
That just screams mirage to me. It's not real. You look at the upcoming schedule. They've got their other win is against the Bears, by the way, who I've already said I don't believe in them either. And then you look at the upcoming schedule, you got to deal with Seattle twice. You got to deal with the Cardinals twice. You got the 49ers. That's not going to be easy. And they already have an L to the 49ers this year. So you've still got all your divisional games against the division we said is the best division in football. I think they slide back to the pack. And when it's all said and done, maybe they are still the doormat in that NFC West. And then as far as my disappointment, I just got one. Minnesota. Minnesota's they've been horrible this year. And I think there's multiple reasons for it. I think I expected them to take a step forward and overtake Green Bay. That has not happened. That was probably, out of all the predictions I've had this year, that was the one that was most flat wrong. The defense, the youngsters that they put together, particularly in that secondary, it appears it's going to take some more time for them to gel. You also remember Everson Griffin gone. You acquire Yannick Ngakoue, but they've already punted on him. They trade him to Baltimore. So they got some issues on that side of the ball. But Kirk Cousins has not been good. I mean, we talk about last year. You thought he's taken some step forward, had a very good season. He wins a playoff game. You know, he makes some clutch throws. You make a big throw to Adam Thielen to take down the Saints. He's been flat out terrible this year. I mean, there's just no way other round to put it. The one positive, though, and I got to give him credit, even though the Vikings as a whole have been disappointment, Dalvin Cook's earned his money. He's been absolutely spectacular. He's everything you could have wanted. I'm glad he got his money. He's a top 5 running back in this league. He deserves it.
Yeah, my 2 surprises I'm going to start with are the Dolphins. The first one, I think that we knew the arrow was kind of up, but I think that we were really kind of expecting another year of them just kind of messing around at 5-6 wins, because obviously the 5-win season last year felt like an anomaly. Like they were supposed to be just god awful, and they really Brian Flores, one of the better coaches in the league, I would already say, he really kind of turned some stuff around for them. But I think that I really like how they've approached the draft and the offseason. They went and got some good free agents that have all pretty much been hits for them. They go out and they draft, Tua. They get him a left tackle in the next pick, who was playing really well before he got hurt. And then they have the guts to go ahead and bring Tua in and start him. We talked about it last week, but I think that's all been really surprising that they're going to do that. And they got to win. They got to win last Sunday. It wasn't so much due to Tua, but hey, a win's a win, right? And it just, everything looks really good. They're in the thick of the AFC race. And to me, if you told me like, hey, the Dolphins are going to be rolling and they're going to be in the thick of the race, this and that, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of surprising, but all right, because you got to think, you thought about it, the Buffalo and New England should be the 2 teams that probably would be in that spot, but then instead now it's the Dolphins. And I'm going to go a little off the wall here and say that Joe Burrow and Cincinnati Bengals, I think, are still surprising. Honestly, they're 2-5-1. I get it. It's not the best record in the world, but that Titans victory Sunday, a 31-20 win of the Tennessee Titans, that's a statement. That's a, hey, we may not be fully here yet, but this ship is it's righting itself pretty quick. If you look at their schedule, I know that the NFL isn't so much about moral victories. They've been in every game except the Baltimore game. I mean, if their kicker could kick, that would have been the week 1 they would have won. I mean, this team's close, and you have to think about the fact that they have some of these old guys, these guys that are just wanting trades, and AJ Green is just kind of messing around, and guys wanting out. The defense just has anchors on it, that is kind of holding that team back. But you got this nice little core of Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and with the right moves, this team can really start to make some noise. I think it's amazing that Joe Burrow, despite all that, is really kind of succeeding in the face of what is a pretty adverse situation overall. We'll see this Sunday against the Steelers if he can, surprise everybody again. But he's 3rd in the league in passing. That's pretty cool. And my two disappointments, I'll start with the Houston Texans. They are, man, I expected more out of this team. I know that schedule was brutal to start. Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers, your first 3 games. You get, Vikings, Jags, Titans, Packers. I mean, 2 of the 4 are pretty rough. But this team just, man, you fire your coach and your GM. Deshaun Watson got that big contract. He hasn't been able to float him. I get that's a rough schedule, but you're paid like a guy you're expected to float the team. You're not expected to just go, well, I don't have everybody here and the schedule is hard, so we lost. Like that ain't 1-6 is not acceptable, Deshaun. I don't care what's around you. I mean, you're not paid that way. They should be better than this. And another disappointment is they didn't make any moves at the trade deadline. Y'all realize they have 5 picks next year, and none of them are in the first 2 rounds. They have 1 3rd-round pick and then a 5th or a 4th, and that's it. Besides your day 3 picks. I mean, it's bad. And they didn't go out and trade Will Fuller. You didn't trade J.J. Watt. You didn't try to make any moves for the future at 1-6. What are you just going to pay Deshaun Watson to just mess around? I don't know what they're doing. And the other thing I'll say, that the Patriots are an immeasurable disappointment for me. We talked about the Brady and the Belichick, the quarterback and the system and all that. Well, it looks like it was more quarterback than system, I guess. I don't know what you're, and I'm not trying to crap on Bill Belichick. I just think that it's Brady is really winning that side of the argument, I would say. And, you had some close, you won 2 games to start, 2 of your first 3 games. You were close with Seattle, but then, the 49ers go out and blow you out. And then you add this, you're in a 4-game skid and it's not getting better. Cam Newton's been benched and he wasn't. And, he has the fumbles, and it's just like, boy, that whole thing just really kind of collapsed in on itself pretty quick. And that is really surprising to me. I really thought that the Patriots were still going to contend in the AFC East, and it does not look like that's going to happen. So to me, all things considered, that's pretty disappointing.